Sometimes, life writes its stories in silence. Not in words, not in laughter, but in the quiet suffering of a child whose voice was never heard. Her name was Amina. She didn't cry when they took her away, not because it didn't hurt, but because even at 8 years old, she knew tears wouldn't bring her mother back. The night she was sold, it rained. Not the gentle kind of rain that nourishes the earth. No, this was the cold, punishing kind that seems to cleanse the streets of people who don't belong. Amina stood barefoot on the edge of a bus station, holding a worn plastic bag with all her life inside. One pair of clothes, and a broken locket tarnished with time, cracked down the middle. Inside, half a photo, a woman's face faded but smiling, her mother, the last piece of a puzzle no one cared to solve. Cut to narration, slower tone. She was sold to a rich family as a maid, not adopted, not welcomed, not loved, just hired. At 8, that family? The Rahmans, a powerful, respected name in town. To the outside world, they were perfect, like a picture in a golden frame. Inside, that frame was filled with cracks. Scene: the grand mansion. The first time Amina walked into the marble-floored mansion, she was dizzy. It wasn't the size, it wasn't the beauty, it was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that warns you. Speak only when spoken to. Mrs. Rahman stood at the top of the staircase, like a queen, surveying her new property. Take her to the servants' quarters, she ordered, not even looking directly at Amina. The maid beside Amina grabbed her wrist, not her hand, and dragged her down a long, dim hallway. Her new home? A storeroom, converted into a sleeping space. No window, one flickering bulb, and a thin mattress on the floor. No toys, no books, no warmth, just a girl and her silence. Voiceover shifts to emotional reflection, but even in chains of silence, a heart beats, a soul dreams. And Amina, she dreamed too. Every night, she'd hold the broken locket close to her chest and whisper, "Ammi, I didn't forget you." Scene: early morning routine. At dawn, Amina swept the floors of the mansion. Her small hands washed dishes too big for her arms. She served breakfast she would never taste. And when the guests arrived, she disappeared because the rich never wanted their guests to see the help. Voiceover intensifies slightly, but not everyone in that house was blind. There was one, someone whose heart still listened when others had closed their ears. Zayn, the son of the Rahman family. He was 13, clever, quiet, and different. Unlike his mother, he didn't look through Amina, he saw her. At first, it was just a glance, then a question, then a long stare at the locket Amina always clutched when she thought no one was watching. One morning, as she wiped the glass windows in the study, Zayn entered. It doesn't knock politely, it doesn't wait for the right time, it crashes through walls, whether you're ready or not. And for Amina, the truth was about to roar louder than all the silence she had endured. Zayn couldn't keep the secret any longer. After discovering the old nursery photo and matching the broken locket, a fire had been lit in his chest. Questions echoed like thunder in his mind. Could she really be a sister? If so, who would do this? Why would a baby vanish, only to return as a servant in her own home? He needed answers, not guesses, not emotions. Proof. Scene: Zayn's room late night. With shaking fingers, Zayn searched the internet. DNA sibling testing. How to collect a sample without someone knowing. Can hair work? Yes, it could. He took one of Amina's hair strands from her pillow while she slept, careful not to wake her. Then his own. Then, he sent them off in a discreet package to a lab. It would take 5 days. 5 days of pretending nothing had changed. 5 days of watching Amina fold laundry and sweep floors, not knowing her entire life was about to shift. Voiceover continues, solemn and slow, but truth doesn't wait patiently. It stirs people, it haunts them, and sometimes, it exposes more than you asked for. Scene: the arrival of the results. On the 5th evening, a brown envelope slid under Zayn's bedroom door. He stared at it for hours, unable to touch it. He could feel the weight of what it contained. Not just information, but a bomb. When he finally tore it open, the paper inside shook in his hands. Probability of full sibling relationship, 99.99%. Amina was his sister. His real, biological, stolen sister. She'd never been kidnapped by strangers. She had been taken by someone who walked their halls every day. Voiceover intensifies, emotion building, and now came the hardest part, telling the truth to the people who had lived so long inside lies. Scene: the confrontation. Dinner was quiet that night. Mr. Rahman sipped soup while reviewing his emails. Mrs. Rahman scrolled through her phone, ignoring her children as always. Zayn stared across the table, heart pounding. Amina was not there. She was, as usual, eating alone in the servant quarters. Zayn placed the DNA result on the table. "What's this?" his father asked. "Read it," Zayn replied, voice tight. Mrs. Rahman picked it up and laughed bitterly. "Some lab report? Another prank from your science club?" "No, it's real." She looked again. Her smile vanished. Her hands began to tremble. Flashback. Years ago. Zayn's voice cracked as he spoke next. "I remember. The police said there was no sign of forced entry when she disappeared. But we never looked further." His father's eyes darkened. "She was kidnapped," he said. "No," Zayn whispered. "She was sold." Silence. Then a glass shattered in the mother's hand. Voiceover, heavy with shock. "Sometimes, a storm brews right under your roof, and you're too proud or too blind to see the clouds. But that night, the storm broke. Sometimes, the hardest journey isn't running from the past. It's returning to it and choosing to heal." Amina didn't wake up the morning after the DNA revelation feeling different. There were no fairy tale moments, no sudden joy, only a silence that now had names. Amina, sister, daughter. But could a house that once felt like a prison truly become a home? Scene: Amina's old room, former servant quarters. The room hadn't changed. Same mattress on the floor, same peeling paint, same cracked window. But now, the door stood wide open. Mrs. Rahman entered quietly, holding a box. Inside it, clothes, shoes, a toothbrush, a framed photo of Amina's baby years newly found in the old nursery drawer. She didn't say much, just placed it down gently and whispered, "This is yours now." Amina nodded politely, but her heart didn't move, because furniture doesn't make a home. People do. Scene: Mr. Rahman's study. A father's shame. Mr. Rahman hadn't spoken to her since the night of the truth. He buried himself in work. He no longer had retired early, disgraced and defeated. When Amina stepped into his office, he didn't even look up. She stood quietly for a moment, then placed her broken locket on the table. "I don't want money," she said. "I want answers." Only then did he raise his eyes. "I failed you," he whispered. "I failed all of us. I let a stranger raise my daughter while I clinked glasses with business partners in this room." Tears brimmed in his eyes. "I was too proud to see what I lost, and too broken to search." Amina stared at him, then asked, "Would you have found me if I wasn't still useful to your image?" He broke down. "I don't know," he sobbed. "But I swear, from this day, I will never stop earning the right to be called your father." Amina said nothing, but she left the locket on his desk, open. That was answer enough. Voiceover slows. Emotional forgiveness isn't a door you walk through. It's 1,000 steps toward someone who may never reach back. But sometimes, even a single step is a miracle. Scene: Amina's new room. The transformation begins. The guest room beside Zayn's was redecorated for Amina. A bookshelf, a soft pink comforter, fresh curtains, a small piano in the corner. When Amina walked in, she paused at the sight of the piano. "Did I play?" she asked. Zayn smiled. "You used to press the keys before you could talk." She sat down, touched the keys softly. The notes came out shaky, but they sang. She was reclaiming her voice one note at a time. Scene: First family dinner. The new table. No longer was she serving from behind the scenes. This time, she sat at the table, fork in hand, plate full, eyes forward. It was awkward. Silent. Raw. Mrs. Rahman tried. She asked Amina about her favorite colors. She placed a gentle hand on hers when she hesitated. Even laughed nervously when Amina joked about how she had once broken a plate trying to dust it. For the first time, laughter echoed in that room, not from privilege, but from connection. Zayn smiled quietly.